When I was in 10th standard, actually, I had a chance to go inside ISRO for the first time. One of the very few ecosystems in the country where if you're doing something unconventional, you're not looked at as crazy because you need that space, right? You don't want to be thinking about, oh, wait, if you go and tell this, whatever. Like, I had that problem in the outside world when we started Agnikul, right? It was very difficult to go to a random person and say we are trying to build rockets. Today, actually, it's slightly more accepted. I think a lot to redo. I would say my job description will be changing. I think Professor Satya, who's one of the big reasons why we are part of the IIT Madras, Srinath, you have to choose between building rockets and building a rocket company. That was not told to me in 2017, a little later. And till date, I always have that minor conflict within me because I started Agnikul with the idea of building rockets. One particular incident, I saw a potential customer of ours. He opened it and he took out a satellite. And he said, I'm not able to get this to space. What is the gap in the market? That was one thing. So it was very clear that small rockets are needed. The tech is true. You need to be fairly, confident in engineering to understand.
What was exactly in your mind that day when Agniban successfully launched into the sky? Welcome to the Guidance Podcast, your window into the state's investment landscape, industrial growth, and innovation ecosystem. We explore the latest developments, success stories, and opportunities in Tamil Nadu with insights from industry leaders, policymakers, and experts shaping the state's future. Welcome to the Guidance Podcast, where we bring you conversations with the leaders, innovators, and change makers shaping Tamil Nadu's growth story. I'm your host, Ayshwaria Lakshmi, and today we are going beyond the skies. My guest, Srinath Ravichandran, co founder and CEO of Agnikul Cosmos, a Chennai born engineer who once dreamt of writing stories for movies but ended up building rockets instead. From studying in Colombia and working on Wall Street to creating India's first 3D printed rocket engine at IIT Madras Research Park. His story is one of bold turns and limitless curiosity. As Srinath often says, exploration is the essence of the human spirit. And in many ways, his story reminds us that every big leap, whether on Earth or beyond, begins with a spark of curiosity. Thank you for joining us today, Srinath.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
So, Srinath, we'll start your journey right from when you were young. You grew up in Chennai. What was the first a science project or a movement that's related to science that made you look up into the sky and say, oh, I want to send a rocket up there one day?
Okay, I don't think it was just one moment because, first of all, too many people in my family were into physics in some way or the other. So, my mom is a physics teacher, aunt is a physics teacher. So, that's where I think it started. But I think the bigger thing is, one of the, very early on when I was doing the science quizzes in school, one of the very early competitions, I got a book called Astronomy Quiz Book. So, I think that kept that thing going. Then the other thing is from Chennai, you can see any ISRO launch with your naked eye, right? You don't need binoculars or anything special. If it's a clear day, you can just see it go up. So those moments, all those things were slowly building to it. So, and to say if it's a career or not, that's a very different story altogether. But also around when I was in 10th standard, actually, I had a chance to go inside ISRO for the first time because I was part of a competition called Red Rover Goes to Mars. This was organized at a NASA level to facilitate how missions should be for human missions to Mars. So every country had to nominate one person, one student. And so I was a semi-finalist there. So this is the first time I touched a satellite with my hand. Right. So those kind of moments were all like, it was just building. So it was not like one day it happened. Consistently, something or other was always happening to keep that passion.
What was going on in your mind when you touched that satellite for the first time? To touch
It was completely unbelievable in the sense that, oh, when I touched it also, it was like, oh, wait, now is this really going to go to space? right? Because it is always, when you think of a satellite, it's like it is out there. You can't touch it, feel it. That is how a normal student looks at it, right? And that's how I also looked at it. So for a very long time, I was thinking, yeah, they're allowing me to touch it and all, but this is not going to space. Something else is going. This is for that exhibition aspect. But actually, it was an actual geostationary satellite of India.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember it was 2000, so we can look it up and see what satellite. But
Yeah.
that was in the clean room at that time. So we put on all that clean room gear, and
Oh.
as a student, those are all like super high moments because you're wearing that suit and you're going in. There is that, that shower of blowing air on you, and then you're going inside, and then one door closes behind you, one door opens. All that was amazing at that time.
Oh.
So yeah, that was what was going on. I really thought this is a good big mock-up only. They didn't allow me to touch a real satellite, but it actually, they told us it's real and it was real. I only didn't.
Did you sleep that night?
I don't think so. Definitely previous night I didn't, because I was thinking something will happen, it'll get cancelled. So I think that night probably I would have slept. I don't remember. I remember the previous night very well, because on the same day I was also supposed to meet the then chairman of ISRO as a part of the selection committee.
Huh.
So it was like a quiz. They were asked. They will a set of ISRO scientists were supposed to be asking me questions, and I was very nervous about what I'm going to tell. So I remember the previous night much more than that night.
You went to doing engineering, and then you went to Colombia, then you landed yourself in Wall Street, and then you came back to Chennai to build Agnikul. You've taken a lot of turns. How would you describe this as from where that small boy, that younger boy who touched the satellite for the first time, now building satellite after all of these turns?
It is still very surreal. Still, sometimes I am not able to believe that I am having the opportunity to do all that. It is one thing for me to want to do it, but then a lot of things aligned. I think there is that has also been happening. So I've been very lucky that way. No, I think every move I did, starting from doing electrical engineering and then to going to finance and then coming back to aero, was all motivated by a very sincere attempt to be following what I think mattered, right? And at that point in time, when it was electrical engineering, it was like, okay, aerospace, there are no jobs in India at that time unless you get a ISRO job, and I didn't know if I'll have enough intelligence to crack ISRO's entrance. So I did a more I hedged out that, right, risk by saying electrical engineering. Okay, I know somewhere I'll get some job, right? And then I went into financial engineering because all my friends were making more money, and the engineering job I was doing in electrical engineering was not very design focused, and I didn't find it challenging. When I got into all that Wall Street and all that, I realized my heart is still very much in engineering. So wanted to come back, but that took a long time because it was very unsettling to think I leave a decently paying job. A lot of people getting into Wall Street was the end of a lot of things, right? After that, it's steady state in some way. For me, I was really exploring shaking up that steady state. So those moments again, it was driven by a simple thing that, okay, I want to do something in space tech. If I don't give it a shot, then I can't later on feel regret. So the only good thing that has been happening is every time I wanted to try, after some 500 600 attempts, at least something clicks. So I think that is how things have worked out. So even now I still feel like it's a big opportunity that has been given to me by God or universe, however you want to call it, and I should still make the best use of it.
Do you see parallels between Wall Street managing large portfolios and aerospace engineering, building rockets? Do you see parallels between them?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say parallels, but a lot of things I learned there actually get applied here even today, right? Like one thing I always tell my team also is shortcuts, right? So in Wall Street, quickly, the, when you're working as a junior trader or as a portfolio manager and you're reporting to the senior people, every question you only get 10 seconds to answer. What will happen if the market moves by 2%? You can't go and type something in Excel and get that answer. You should have it in the tip of your fingers. So you come up with a lot of rules of thumb, or you come up with a lot of shortcuts to get to the final answer. It may not be perfect, but it will get the answer to a level that the senior person wants, right? So until today, when you're doing a very complex engineering design, all the time to get that last 1%, you need to run a lot of simulations, tests, and so on. But what will happen if the engine performance is down by 1%? That answer, those kind of rules of thumb, I still apply. So I think that way it was skills I learned there still apply here. It taught me a lot more discipline. I was a lot more casual before finance. This was a finance job was like I need to show up at work at a particular time. I need to go back at a particular time. You're basically dictated by markets, right? Stock market opens, stock market closes, or for me it was bond markets. Bond markets open, bond markets close. That defines my day. Outside of that, I can do what I want, but that time I need to be in front of a monitor. So that discipline, all of those things I learned there, which is still useful today.
You then after Wall Street, you went on to doing a higher education in space engineering, and then you decided to come back to Chennai to build Agnikul. So, what made you go into or see land yourself into wanting to build the small satellite, and how did you convince your investors?
One is what I saw as opportunity, because when I moved to Los Angeles just to be around SpaceX, because that is where all the activity in space tech was happening, did a lot of networking. That's when I realized rockets and satellites are going in two different ways. And just to set the context, rocket is simply a vehicle. It's like a transportation system. It takes cargo to space. Satellite is the cargo. In more advanced cases, people also can be transported, astronauts or something. So it was very clear that rockets are getting bigger and bigger, satellites are getting smaller and smaller. So there seemed to be like a weird trend, because you're building rockets for carrying satellites. Why would they go in different directions, right? I remember talking to people. There was one particular incident where in one of these events, I saw a potential customer of ours come to the event with a stroller, like what we take, when we travel. He opened it and he took out a satellite, and he said, I'm not able to get this to space. What is going on, right? And he was just venting. Something made me realize, why is it so hard? I mean, rockets are hard, but rockets were flying. It was not like no rockets were flying, right? So what is the gap in the market? That was one thing. So it was very clear that small rockets are needed. So that was the starting point of, and of course, watching PSLV, watching SpaceX, all those things also added to the inspiration. Convincing investors was a whole different story, because a lot of people still think, I think, unless you are in the sector or you're an investor following the sector, you still think it is not for everyone. It needs too much complexity. You need to be a scientist to understand. The tech is true. You need to be fairly, confident in engineering to understand. But the business model is super simple. Anyone who understands the logistics business will understand rocket business. It's about like how much you charge for cargo, right? And the cargo is in this case going to space. Otherwise, it's cargo business only. Shipping. How would you run a cargo supply chain logistics company? That is basically the model that works. So explaining that and getting investors convinced about that is generally it's a longer story.
How did you how did you where did the idea for 3D printing your rocket engine come from?
So when you're taking any big system, it could be a rocket, it could be a car, it could be a plane, and you try to shrink it, immediately you get into losses. Your efficiencies start to drop because you have a lot of overheads, right? They talk about this concept called economies of scale, right? At a larger scales, the inefficiencies are a smaller percentage. But when you're building small things, everything is a big problem. So similarly with rockets also, small rockets, when you take the 50 years of rocketry that exists today and you try to build a small rocket with it, it becomes very inefficient as a system. So we had to come up with new technologies to make it efficient, particularly cost efficient. So I would say a lot of the tech we have built, like there are the two types of startups, right? In this sector or in any tech focused sector, you build tech, then you commercialize. I think for us, it started the other way, right? We knew that we had to figure out tech to make the price work. 3D printing was an answer to that. So only with 3D printing, we were able to come up with a technology that allows me to make a rocket engine, a small rocket engine, at a similar cost like how would make a big rocket engine. So that is what led to 3D printing. We were in search of manufacturing that allows the right pricing. And that has been generally the theme of Agnikul. All of the tech in Agnikul is driven by how else to make this rocket better. As opposed to saying, I figured out 3D printing. Oh, wait, now I can go build a rocket with it. It has not been that way generally.
And you went on to make an Agnikul, you went on to make the history, but being the first 3D printed rocket engine. Um, What was exactly in your mind that day when Agniban successfully launched into the sky?
Yeah, I still again a lot of disbelief. It really happened because we were continuously in that launch campaign for like 2 months or so, right? So it almost felt like, oh, tomorrow morning I don't need to go start something about doing something about the launch. That still was there. But I felt so much relief that I can go talk to customers saying, hey, I have tech that works. Because until that point, right, the engineer in me was very satisfied. I knew we are building interesting stuff. But I can't go to a customer who's looking for a transportation vehicle and say, hey, I have a great engine. Car is not there. Engine is super. Seats are super. That I can't say. No, it's not like that's not how you run the business. So that part of me was always a little unhappy because until that day, all I could tell is this again, right? By using an analogy of a car. Let's say you're on the market to buy a car. Would you be happy if you go to a car showroom and they don't show you a car that has actually gone on the road, but they say, I have an amazing engine. Did you see the test? Oh, I have amazing interiors. I have amazing sound system. Car, has it moved on the road? No, no, not really. That we are putting together. That was a conversation till May 2024. In May, we were able to say, I know how to put these together to fly. So suddenly the customer conversations became about, I know I have a car or a rocket now I can fly you to space. So that was a very big moment for me.
There's a very beautiful video, I think a very emotional video of your team when that launch successfully happened. The entire team was on their foot, shouting, being very happy about it. And the two of you were in that room, I
That room.
think. You guys were on a
The
different.
other is ISRO's Mission Control Center. The team was in Agnikul's Mission Control Center.
Okay. And how was it when you came back, met your team after the launch? What was your first word to them?
Everyone was like in tears. Actually, I think we see the other thing is between ISRO. So we were in ISRO's Mission Control Center. Our mission control center was 25 kilometers away. 25 kilometers. It's within Sriharikota itself, but it was 25 kilometers away. So just the drive is like 15 minutes, right? So by the time, Moin and I went there, all the first set of tears, hugs, all that was over within the team already. And people were talking about hearing the rocket fly. I still till date have that, what do you call that? I am disappointed that I missed that part alone. I only heard it on speakers.
Okay. Huh.
I didn't hear the actual engine firing in flight. I've heard it on the ground so many times, but to see it like to hear it like how you see a plane flying, that I've never that didn't get a chance so far. So that is one regret I would say. But it was amazing, and everyone in the room, I heard my vehicle director tell me that, right? Everyone in the mission control room, 18 people were there or 17 people, all of them broke down. And these are people I've never seen like break down in their jobs for like 5 6 years, right? So that was how powerful the moment was. And so I think that way it's a big day for everyone. I think like everyone felt like that much effort that went into it was super successful, and the flight was flawless, right? Every single mission objective was met. So that was again a big sense of satisfaction for all of them. So yeah, there was I can't describe it. I think it's always giving me goosebumps to talk about it.
And they're closer to the launch pad, was
Yeah,
it?
they are much closer. They are 3.5 kilometers from the launch pad.
Huh.
We are like 20 25 kilometers away. So for us, it's like only video and audio from the mics there. But they actually came outside the mission control room. The people who didn't have monitoring work, they came outside and saw it. So those are things that I completely miss. I only saw it on video.
Oh, that's so nice. Was there ever a moment for you when you felt like Agniban might not work, or was there a moment you felt like you have to make Agniban work?
Yeah, we have to make Agniban work is always there. I never felt like it will not work because I knew engineering means something can be done. Like it's not like say a physics where I'm figuring out some very deep answers like what is inside a black hole. Like that is not, we are not figuring out relativity. It's not that kind of work, right? Here it is like physics is there. It is about how smartly and how economically you're able to apply that to the solution that you want to get to. So in that sense, it was like I never had a doubt whether Agniban will work. I only had a question of Will it be the right price? How soon can I get it to work? Will I not lose track of what I'm trying to address in the customer? Those kind of questions only keep coming.
Was there a moment in you where you thought a setback that you felt like, oh, this is a pivotal moment in my life, and then I should be resilient? That have you ever put that into Agnikul? That moment, that time, that thought.
Um, it's like because daily things are like I will take one line that I heard in my screenwriting classes, right? Which is like for 100 bad pages, you get one good page of writing. Yeah. That is the general theme, right? So that is regular in Agnikul, particularly in the early days. The good days come only after every 100 bad days. So it has always been in that mode of okay, we just have to get through the phase of trying, experimenting, making things work. So I think that way that was always there. So it was not like deriving inspiration from one moment. Because I've heard this that it's okay to say get a no 100 times or get bad writing 100 times, that you'll still get that good day. Right. So that I think that has been there in me somewhere. I think even before that, that was always there. So never really bothered about those days. It also helped me in fundraising. A lot of early fundraise pitches didn't go well. So a lot of people said no. And then also it was like, okay, we'll go back the next day and pitch because that person is hearing the story for the first time. Maybe someone else heard it and they are not okay with it. That's okay. Why should I bring that baggage to this new investor, right? So somehow it has been going that way.
In one of the talks, I think you mentioned about how exploration is the essence of human spirit, and that's a very beautiful statement. Can you tell us what it means to you personally?
So yeah, it is one of the things that has impacted me very deeply. I read it very early in my life. I think like whenever I that was there is enough English knowledge to understand that itself. I came across it somehow. No, I think as a child, everyone is curious. When you see children, you most of the children ask you so many questions. So you're already explorers at that point, and then you get used to whatever you're seeing because you're distracted with other things. And somewhere down the line, people forget that that is there in everyone, and you get more distracted. I think, right? But I think it is still there. It is the essence of what we are all meant to hear for. We are always searching for something. That search is, I think, the essence of what has made us develop, what has made us get this better with technology, with every aspect of life. So I think that's why it is the essence of human spirit. For me, it is about that constant gap that any human feels. Maybe they are not in touch with the gap, but there is that gap, the gap to find out something, seeking answers. So that is what this is. Space is a great way to actually see that in reality, because after all this effort that we do to build rockets, once you go to low Earth orbit, which is the orbit class that we go to, right? It is the beginning of, it is like you've just entered the entrance of space. It is actually just like I always think of it like Chennai to Bangalore in the upward direction. That's low Earth orbit, just 400 kilometers. So after that, it's not, and you other distances when you talk about, you're always talking about like millions of kilometers and so on. So it's like so much to explore, and that is what we are all fundamentally cut out to do. So I think that is what that means to me.
What made you want to build Agnikul in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu?
So one thing there was this because first of all, this home ground. This is where I spent a lot of time, 22 years straight. 22 years of life was in Chennai. So it is definitely home turf. Second, I think is this aspect of being with the right academic institutions. So Anna City is here. Of course, IIT Madras, where we are incubated, is here. So that was the other thing. Third thing is the ecosystem around. It is a automotive hub in a way. There are industrial markets. We have Ambathuravadi, we have Ikatatangal, we have Paris. So there are these local industrial centers from where we actually can source components to build, rigs or facilities. So that was always fascinating. I knew Chennai will give me that access as well. And lastly, close enough to Sriharikota, right? 100 kilometers from is the closest city to Sriharikota, which is the only, at least today, it is still the only functional launch pad of India for commercial purposes. So all of those things align. But the thing is, it interestingly worked out from a coincidence standpoint because when I reached out, I didn't search only in Chennai. I searched wherever I could get access to aerospace, wherever I could get access to labs and facilities. It just aligned very neatly in Chennai. And then I saw, oh, wait, there's so many other advantages of doing it in Chennai.
Incubated with IIT Madras, and you still operate in the IIT Madras Research Park, right? The ecosystem so special that for global innovation to happen right from there.
One of the very few ecosystems in the country where if you're doing something unconventional, you're not looked at as crazy. The judgment levels are lesser because you need that space, right? You don't want to be thinking about, oh, wait, if you go and tell this, whatever. Like I had that problem in the outside world when we started Agnikul, right? It was very difficult to go to a random person and say we are trying to build rockets. Today, actually, it's slightly more accepted, I think, with all the media, all the coverage. We have also done a launch. The Prime Minister has tweeted about it. The Tamil Nadu government has done so much for the Kulasekarapatnam launch pad. So now it is becoming more and more common. But at that point in time, it was like, wait, what are you talking about, right? A rocket in Tamil Nadu means Evakasi Diwali. That is what it is. You don't think of it as a commercial for getting something to space and so on, outside of ISRO. So I think that is why this ecosystem of startups, which are all like, because there was another company that was building drones that will go underwater. There was another company that was building satellites, which is doing hybrid imaging using radar and optical imaging. And all of these things look like crazy ideas or moonshots. So it was okay to go and say I'm building rockets. No one really cared. Beyond a certain, oh, okay, interesting. That's all. Instead of like looking at this group like, oh, wait, some crazy people are around, right? So I think that way it helped also when you see so many people trying to do something very difficult, it suddenly normalizes the effort. Everyone is working hard. What is the big deal, right? But if you are otherwise not in the community like that, suddenly working hard itself becomes like a special thing. So I think those were all like good. That's why I generally also think any startup which is part of a bigger ecosystem of startups will always it'll be easier for the startup to scale and grow because you're just surrounded by like-minded people. So you have more people to share your stories with, more people to take inspiration from, more people to normalize your problems. Suddenly it doesn't look like that I'm suffering, 20 other people are suffering. So it's okay. So that's how it is.
Where do you see Agnikul fitting into Tamil Nadu's broader growth story?
So I think Tamil Nadu and space, they are very unique. I think whatever divine alignment in a way, right? Because it is one of the coasts of India which actually perfectly align for launches, right? And particularly like Tamil Nadu could really be entire Asia's gateway to space because we have that vantage point. We can build those launch pads. So that is one thing that is geographically aligning, right? Then beyond that, we are, I think, one of the very few states, or probably the only state in the country where across industries there is equal growth. We're not only focused on semiconductors, not only focused on everything. There is something happening, and rockets are like that. You need a little bit of everything. You need electronics, you need software, you need other research institutes to help in gas dynamics, you need aerodynamics. On all of these things there is something happening in Tamil Nadu already. Industries are there. So I think that way it's another, for commercializing it's a great place. I think that's one thing. Third thing is it's also, it is not too much into this typical what I call as, say, run of the mill startup story, right? Where it's like, okay, I built some product which someone has already built in Silicon Valley, and I'm doing an India version of it. That story doesn't happen much in Tamil Nadu, if you've noticed. We do stuff that is actually ground up from scratch. So those are all like good for, I think, Tamil Nadu and space generally.
How do you think Tamil Nadu can support or build an ecosystem to become the destination for deep tech innovation?
So all deep tech innovation will need government support at some way or the other. So first thing is enabling people to work easily, right? That is what most startups want in the early years at least. It should be like, oh, I've come to Tamil Nadu, I can set up and get started, as opposed to thinking, oh, how many places to go to get signatures, right? That is itself is one big helpful thing. I think that's where bodies like guidance chain and all really help, right? Because that part is already sorted. You are not going to be looked at as, oh, it's a hard state to do business in. That's number one. I think number two, I think deep tech would be favored because of all the academic institutions. So the more support the government gives academic institutions, automatically more deep tech growth will happen. So I think that's another thing that Tamil Nadu government can do. It's doing. I think there's always more to be done. Third part, I think, is very sector specific. So, but again, that's where I said before also, right? There is presence for every single sector in Tamil Nadu already. So you can, if you are building something in deep tech, in quantum also, or in anything else, space tech, you can tap into the ecosystem because it's parallel growth. I see that actually very rarely in other states in India.
Okay.
Across the sector, there is growth uniformly, and you don't have it also in one geography within Tamil Nadu, right? It's usually throughout there is something happening, right? And within this small area compared to the like entirety of India, there is so many different pockets of development across sectors. So all those things are really good. I think that's why I think Tamil Nadu is sitting on this platform already with a little bit of effort in all these areas. I think we can really become the go-to place for deep tech startups or deep tech initiatives generally.
Message to students or entrepreneurs that are starting right now and dreaming big? What's your message for them?
Today is a great time to be starting deep tech in India. There is money available. People are not going to be judging you for it. You can actually build big businesses. Policy is okay. State governments are helping. Central government is helping. So generally, it's a very favorable climate, right? The weather from the startup ecosystem for deep tech standpoint is very good. Don't wait, I think would be my first recommendation. There is never a good time. So when we started, even this was not there, but we still have survived. So today it's much easier to survive. Second thing I think is patience is a big thing story. You don't build deep tech in a year, so it will take a long time. So you will have to be comfortable with that weight, and you'll have to sustain yourself through that weight. I think that is very important as well. Third thing with deep tech is I would say it is actually a very encouraging sector within startups, because I think the failure rates are the lowest there, because every company coming out of it is based on a very strong rooted technological base, right? So you're not just selling something because it is cheap in India, or you're not selling something because you figured out some small hack. You've figured out tech. Anyone who's going to come and try to copy that, or who's going to take away that from you, will take 10 years. So you already have a niche. Okay, let's say you built tech and your first business idea didn't work. There's always going to be something else you can sell. So deep tech startups, I think, on an average, will have lower failure rates than the rest of the startup world, because here the fundamentals are very strong. It is rooted in something very valuable. So that should get even more risk averse people to get into deep tech. So that I think, even if you're risk averse, if you have a good idea for a good technology, you should start a deep tech startup, because there are more chances of survival.
Uh, what would you tell Srinath from 2017 who started out Agnikul, and what would you tell that 2017 Srinath, and how would you redo things?
Don't think there'll be a lot to redo. I would say my job description will be changing. That I would have I would have told that straight. Somehow I felt I think Professor Satya, who's one of the big reasons why we are part of the IIT Madras ecosystem, used to tell me that uh, Srinath, you'll have to choose between building rockets and building a rocket company, right? And that was not told to me in 2017, a little later. And till date, I always have that minor conflict within me, because I started Agnikul with the idea of building rockets, but the role into, but one rocket is not going to solve anything. We're talking about 1,000 rockets. So that means building a product that will build rockets, which is the rocket company, right? So that I think is the big message for me. Like I would tell today, if I was facing myself in 2017, I'll say, you're here to build rockets, but remember, very soon your JD is going to change. You will have to be building a rocket company, not rockets.
How challenging is it to
The
change that mindset where
Yeah, it is. Context switching is generally also hard. Within a day, I still do some rocket building, but mostly no rocket company building. So the context switching is difficult, because you're fully immersed in some technical somewhere, what is happening, and some engine within some part of the rocket, and suddenly you come out and you're talking about, okay, why this vendor didn't deliver to the extent that you wanted, right? Completely different conversation, mindset, completely different focus. So that I struggle with even today. I think context switching is hard, but I've gotten used, because I really realized the need for it. I know for a fact that we flew a rocket, so that part of the dream is more or less taken care of now. Now it's about, can I fly 1,000 rockets? So that means I'll have to not build 1,000 rockets. I'll have to build a company that can build 1,000 rockets. So I am also accepting that slowly.
We started the shoot. You were talking about writing, that's one thing that you love to do.
Yeah.
And before Agnikul, you used to write a lot, and now the writing is come down a little. Um, how do you relax yourself? What are the things that you say that, oh, like writing? What's something that relaxes you?
Um, Relaxation, yeah, I think writing randomly. I think there is this thing called meditative writing where you just write whatever you want. You don't care. There's no topic to write about. You simply write. Which is why early days I was doing more of screen writing. It's very structured writing. It's very pointed. You have to deliver a message. You have to tell something. The story has to move so many. It is like a big list of objectives, right? Now I've moved away from, because it feels like work now. So I was like, no, I'm not doing more work. Already Agnikul is tiring enough. So today I just write whatever comes. I'll write. It need not be coherent. It need not even be grammatically correct. It need not be about a topic. It's just letting go and writing whatever comes to mind. That helps. And also I'm fairly religious, so that also helps. And I generally think over over these many years, a lot of buckets of putting problems have evolved. Oh, this problem, okay, I can put it in that bucket, or this problem. So we've already solved many of these templates are there. So generally it is getting easier that way, but that's how I unwind. Writing, praying, and then just realizing that similar problems have been solved in the past by Agnikul itself.
You once wanted to write scripts, right? And you were saying you've written scripts before. If you were to write a story on an Agnikul, what would it be?
It would be about how to build a rocket from nothing, right? So I think there is that. It is about, as I told you before itself, it is about that search, right? So it'll be. I don't have an exact title or an exact theme, but it'll be about search for exploration, right? So I think that is what it is going to be about, if at all I get there. And I don't think I'll make a movie about it, to be honest. Hopefully someone does, and we've done so well that someone does. But if I have to make a movie about something, if I get an opportunity, I will do it about something completely different.
Away from rockets.
Yeah, away from rockets.
Enough rockets for
Enough
lifetime.
rockets. No, not enough rockets. That is never going to be enough. But why movies also about rockets, right? There are so many other things that you can nicely tell stories about. Agnikul is telling its story anyway. Why should I go and again tell Agnikul's story? I've told it enough times. So instead of saying enough rockets, I would say enough rocket storytelling. That I've done. Every investor pitch is storytelling only, no? So that I've done many, many times.
So, what's the next stop for Srinath and Agnikul? You have gone into reusable rockets, and then you've done your rocket launch, and then you're starting your commercial production. What's next?
So it may sound a little dramatic, but I'm waiting to hear that one line where where I can come and tell a customer, "Thank you for flying Agniban." You hear this in airlines all the time, right? That moment is still not arrived for Agnikul. So if you have to tell me, if you have to ask me what is next, that is it. I want to go and tell a customer who's happy, saying, not one of those flights where you're like, we regret coming late uh, because of technical issues, but like going and telling a customer saying thank you for flying Agniban, right? I think that will be the biggest moment for me. And every time, even today, when a customer tells, like, when you write these emails, right, I always, for customers, end with the line saying, you've heard of this line that says looking forward to working with you or something. I always end with, for a customer, I end with saying looking forward to flying with you. So I want to see that looking forward happen. That is the next immediate thing. But I think, as I already told, right, the 1,000 rockets part is for me the real big milestone. At that point in time, you've normalized rockets to a point where a rocket launch will be happening. No one will even be talking about it. And maybe someone somewhere will be observing, but it's like, okay, now you got to space. Now you have to think about what to do in space. I think that is the real next milestone.
Okay. We're done with the Q&A session. Now we just have like a small two games with you. Okay. One's launch and abort. I'll be giving you a set of a statement, and you'll tell me whether you launch or you'll abort. Okay. Commercial space tourism.
Launch.
Fully reusable rockets.
Launch.
AI designing rocket engines?
Launch.
Launch?
Yeah, launch, definitely. I think there's so much that has been already figured out that AI can design 99% of the rocket engine and humans can add that last 1%.
Nice. Humans landing on Mars before 2040.
Launch.
Private companies building their own spaceports.
Launch.
Oh. Huge investment in the space industry. You need huge investment to stay in the space industry.
Uh, yeah, but mostly you don't need it at some point, maybe, but definitely not a necessity. About
3D printing the entire rocket.
that, interesting. Actually, about because you can print certain aspects of it, not the you don't need to build a full rocket. At least today, it is not economically viable. So, about
India leading the small satellite launch market.
launch.
Need to be an engineer to be in the space industry.
About. I think, in fact, we actually use that a lot in our recruitment to say that you don't need to be a space tech engineer or a space tech scientist to be in any space tech company. It is such a broad amalgamation of skills that is required. Like one example quickly is like the whole concept of during a launch, right? You're doing it when a launch is like an event. So you actually need event management people to run that well. You don't, engineers are also, but engineers will be like that one team. It's like the chef who's cooking. Right, that is one specialized skill. Rocket people will be that one specialized skill, but you need to coordinate, you need to get fuel to the place, you need to get approvals, you need to alert fishermen, you need to alert air traffic. This is all full event management. So that's an example. So it's not an industry where you need to be an engineer to be in it. You need lawyers, insurance people, so a lot of stuff.
Electric propulsion for rockets.
For some rockets launch, I think if you go to space, it's launch. From ground, you still no one has figured out the tech. So about
We're moving on to the second game. It's about myths and facts. Okay. So I'll give you a statement and you'll tell me if it's a myth or a fact, and you'll also have to explain.
yeah.
Rockets can go straight up into the space.
Myth. They actually go more horizontal than vertical. The going vertical part is only to avoid atmosphere. After that, it's just once you get to a point where atmosphere is not killing you, you go horizontal. So this liftoff, vertical liftoff, is only for very short period of time.
But there is a point where you can do the entire vertical route, no?
We can do entire vertical, but then if the velocity is added in upward direction, at some point you will come down. So we actually go up just enough so that drag is not too hard to fight, and then you go completely horizontal.
Okay.
In fact, the final when you get into orbit, you are literally parallel to Earth surface. You are horizontal.
Okay.
So vertical is good to start, not to close.
Rockets can directly talk to each other while in space.
Today it's a myth, but we have actually patented a technology where we can do that. So I would say fact for Agnikul, because a rocket, once it puts a satellite in orbit, a part of the rocket remains there in orbit. It's actually today debris, but we have patented a technology where that is not debris. That is a useful system, and so when you have a few of these, they can talk to each other. So yeah, today myth, but we have patents, so fact.
When are we getting this out?
We are testing it in the upcoming mission. So after that, we'll commercialize that also. This is one of the secondary objectives of this mission to test it out.
Most of the rocket's cost comes from the fuel.
No, most of the rocket costs come from the engines. That's where the fuel. Actually, fuel is super, super cheap, and particularly for us at least, like we use the regular jet fuel, so 80, 90 rupees per liter, and liquid oxygen 12 rupees per kg. That's all. So it's not much. The real cost, what makes a rocket costly, the hardware that's flying is engines.
Rocket science is hard only because of engineering.
Yeah, myth, I would say, because engineering is very difficult, but the hard part of it is also getting various engineering teams to work together. It's always you're in a trade-off mode. If one team has to do well, someone else has to compromise. So to get these teams to work together with an engineering objective is very, very difficult as a human problem. So it's as much an engineering problem as a human resources problem, I would say.
Thank you, Srinath, for taking your time today, joining us today, and enlightening us with your story, your interesting growth story, all the twists and the turns, all the setbacks. And despite all of that, Agnikul has made history today, and I know will continue to make histories tomorrow with the way that you said you were also patenting where rockets can now talk to each other in space. So yeah, we'll continue to cheer you, and we want to see Agnikul grow more heights.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. And I think the ecosystem here is great. So, encouraging everyone who's going to be hearing this and watching this to go build something in space tech. Thank you.
Thank you.